one of your posts you put on was this. Your posts were so real. Like I wish you could take some of those old posts and make a book out of it. I honestly want to tell you that, and I think I even pitched you to. I like movies. I have to write. I'm a storyteller like yourself. I like acting, everything, production. I think I even pitched you one time. Hey, let me write your life story. Your own story you shared that there was a home. I think it was by Fort Lauderdale where like people go and get high and they just sleep there. Like that was common back then.
Like a crack house?
Like a crack house.
Yeah, I mean, there's crack houses all
still there. 441, that part of town. Tell me your experience with that.
So when I was doing opiates, I didn't want to do pills, but they were just everywhere. Like I would buy Coke and someone would be like, hey, I'll just give you these. Like people were just giving them out. Like they were just all over the place. And like, my friend's dad was selling them, and like, dude, the pills were just, you couldn't like go anywhere without running into them. You'd buy weed and someone would be asking you if you could get them. And then I didn't even like the way they made me feel, but then I just started doing them. And then I was like, well, this is kind of like Coke because I have a lot of energy, but I'm not like paranoid and like I could talk and I don't have lockjaw. So I started doing pills to like stop doing Coke. And then when I was doing pills, I started meeting like drug addicts. I'm not talking like people who do Coke, like I'm meeting real drug addicts. So up until this point, I had only been with like people who sell weed, who sell ecstasy and sell Coke. And those people are like, they go to college, they're in the party lifestyle, they have a car, whatever. When I started doing pills, dude, I start meeting, people with no teeth, people in their 40s and 50s. I start hearing about murders, I start getting introduced to like abandoned houses, people, talking about stabbing someone for their bottle. Like it's just really rough. And I'm like really intrigued by it at the same time. And I remember I went to my friend's house and there was this guy who we used to call him Doc because he had all the pills you could want. And, he lived off this neighborhood in Shady Banks, which is like not a bad neighborhood, but it wasn't like a super nice neighborhood. It's on 441 and Davie Boulevard. And he lived like all the way in the back. And his house was like, if you didn't have a map or know his address, you would never find it. It's all the way in the corner. There's like a dead end. And then there's like this little driveway that like says do not enter. And like, it's all like trees overgrown. Like you wouldn't think to go down there. Then you got to go down this long road, and then there's like two little houses back there, and he lived in one of them by this overpass. And it's like you had like two locks on the door. The pool was green, no furniture, sometimes no electricity. And you would go in this house and there'd be people walking around with candles just smoking crack. And he would sell his pills, his prescription, and he would buy crack. And he didn't do pills because he used to be addicted to heroin, and he had like learned his lesson and wasn't messing with opiates. So here's a guy selling me pills to buy crack, and he doesn't want to do the pills because the pills are too hard. The pills are too so at the time I'm thinking like pills are not bad at all. And here's a guy who's like a career criminal drug addict who doesn't do pills because it is too extreme while he smokes crack, And I remember I would go to that house and, man, I would hear crazy stories and see crazy things and people arguing. And I would be so intrigued, like just being at that crack house. And I would see them smoke crack and I would think like, I'm never, ever gonna do that. It wasn't attractive. It was like watching a car accident. Like I would watch it. I'm not trying to be in the car, And I remember this one time I had bought Coke, and I'm 14 years old. I had just bought Coke. The guy dropped it off to the house. I'm snorting Coke while this other guy, Richard, is smoking crack. And Richard's probably like 45 years old. He has no front teeth. He's tan, but not tan because he goes tanning. Tan because like he probably passed out outside and like is totally like leather skin. And he has no shoes on. He had like the little shorts on. And I remember I was snorting Coke and he was smoking crack. And I had looked at the bag and I realized that I got like ripped off. Instead of giving me like 3.5 grams, he gave me like 2. And I called the guy like pissed off or whatever. So I remember I did the Coke. And I had given him a line, and he did a line, and then I was coming down, and I remember he was like, "Do you want to hit this?" And I don't know. I was like, "Whatever. I let you do a little bit. You're gonna let me do a little bit." And I remember I took like my first hit of crack, and it wasn't really that crazy. I remember being like, "Oh, that was cool." And then I did it again, and then I think like I didn't know how to smoke it, and like the third time I took like a real hit, and I knew I would never buy cocaine ever again. And from that point forward, I never bought cocaine again. I knew at that moment, I knew that I would struggle with this for the rest of my life. It was such an intense feeling. Like, I loved cocaine, but when I smoked crack, I proposed.
Explain to me, how does crack feel? Cocaine, I know.
I mean, cocaine is like, coke and crack are really the same drug. It's just a different way of taking it.
So the effects are the same? The feeling is the same?
Yeah, just crack is a lot more intense.
Oh, wow.
So, if you do coke, you would have to do so much so fast to get to a point that crack could take you with taking like the smallest hit from like the shittiest crack.
Really?
So it's like, it really is the same drug, but crack is just more intense. But man, it was, so the difference between coke and crack is that when I used to buy coke, I would look at it, I would weigh it, I would think about whether I was going to buy it. I would only really buy an 8-ball or more. I wasn't going to buy $10 worth of coke,
Yeah. Yes,
it would be gone,
a few minutes.
With crack, it would be like I would be in the hood. Anybody who was on a bicycle, I would flag them down, and I'd be like, dude, I have $14. Can I have it now? Like, I wasn't looking at it. Like, I kind of knew what $14 of crack would look like, but like, I needed it right then, right there.
You're done, dude.
It wasn't like, let me look at it first and see if I'm going to buy it, And there wasn't like, I'm not going to buy it if I can't buy it. Like, it was just an animalistic type of addiction,